Today we're going to be talking about The Walking Dead, The Flash, Mr. Robot, and Alias Grace, so stay tuned. Welcome to The Real Review, sponsored by Parametric and Lazy Ape Studios, where you get some of the latest happenings, real thoughts, and perspectives in the world of film and television. Right, Matt?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good echo.
You like that?
Yeah.
That wasn't actually me. That was the mic.
Oh, it was the cave that we're in.
It naturally knew that it needed that echo there, so it just did it on its own.
Totally.
Do you believe that?
Yeah, no, not really.
Not really. Okay. Well, this is our Tube Talk episode. This is where we review some of the latest TV show episodes, talk about some of the upcoming new shows and stuff like that. And we're going to be talking about a couple shows, actually 4 shows that I mentioned in the very beginning. One is a Netflix original. Get to that at the very end. But why don't we, before we get going here real quick, why don't you give the listeners some ways to get listeners some ways to get connected, Matt?
Yeah, you can get connected with us on social media, Facebook /Real Review Media, and then Twitter and Instagram @Real Review Media. And then you can go to our website, realreviewmedia.com. Connect with us there in all those different ways. Send us an email, realreviewmedia@gmail.com. If you have any questions or a specific show that you really love, maybe we haven't had a chance to talk about, do that there. And also we have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/TheRealReview, where we put the vidcast up, any trailer reactions and random stuff like that. Yeah.
That is awesome. One of the days we're going to start a side podcast where we review everything, talking like that.
We're going to call it a sidecast.
The sidecast here. Yep. All right. Well, let's get right into it then. Okay. We're going to start things off talking about The Walking Dead.
Walking Dead.
Which, Matt, you did not watch this week.
I did not watch it this week.
Didn't get a chance to.
My schedule was crazy.
That's okay. You are allowed to have a crazy schedule.
It's all good.
I will forgive you.
Okay.
But I did watch it.
Okay. Tell me about it.
I mentioned this briefly. This was the first episode of the season that I actually really enjoyed.
You did say that.
Yes,
yeah.
Which is surprising.
Give me some hope.
Yeah. I was really not expecting to pretty much ever get back to a place with the show where I was like, yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm pretty much like, it's a show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we talked about this. They kind of removed a lot of, for me at least, that sense of intrigue and interest with different elements that have happened in prior seasons. So this episode in particular, they did something that I generally don't enjoy, but they did it in a really good way. They went into kind of just a couple of the characters' story throughout the episode, and it was kind of set in one area of this battle that's happening. And the main problem that I've had in this season so far, and we've discussed this, is stakes. I really don't know what the stakes are beyond we're just trying to win a war so we can find our
prime ribeye.
Yeah, I'm hungry now.
Yeah,
thanks.
okay.
No, I meant more the idea of, well, set up a plan. Show us on a map. Okay, X is what we're trying to take. Right now we're at Y, and show me where they're trying to go and how that's failing or how that's succeeding. Mm-hmm. Right now it's just been pretty much everybody just trying to kill each other, and I don't know what that end is because I don't know in the show's whatever scope how many people are literally there and available to be killed, so they could literally just keep pumping up people as much as they want and as much as they need. So it's like I need stakes for what they're trying to earn or gain or take from each other, what they're trying to prevent from happening or excuse me, allow to happen. So this episode is the first time that I've really felt like stakes were there. It kind of all, there's an A and a B plot, but the biggest chunk of it is we're trying to capture guns for prevent guns from getting to the saviors. Yeah. And Melissa McBride's character, Carol, is working throughout the course of the episode to kind of prevent the guns from getting taken that we saw at the end of the last episode that pretty much mowed down all of Ezekiel. Ezekiel? Is it? Not Ezekiel. What's the king?
Negan?
Not the king.
No,
the king. Yeah, Ezekiel. Yeah. So all of his troops get wiped out. Yeah. So I'm getting way mixed up in my storytelling here. His troops get wiped out. Yeah. He's trying to kind of get away and escape, and his story gets kind of brought into focus where we're trying to figure out, is he really a kingly type person, or is he just some guy that's kind of pretending to be, and he gets captured by one of Negan's guys, right? And he's being held hostage, and they're trying to run away from this horde of zombies. It's like the beginning of the episode starts the same blah way, which is him doing this like grand speech to his troops, like "We will smile, we will," and then it's like immediately juxtaposed with now all of his people are dead, and it's like, wow, you set up some stakes there. He's trying to make everybody have this courage and this like sense of hope and progress, and then now they're all dead. It's like, wow, you did something. Thank you. Cheers. So I was like, that was great because then you kind of see him getting broken down over the course of this episode.
Okay. So it's an Ezekiel-centered
It's him and Carol. Okay. And then Carol is throughout the course of it. So after all his troops get wiped out by the 50 cal, she's trying to capture the 50 cal, if you will, or capture or stop the people that are the saviors from taking that back to Negan. And so she's on her own little course, and she has to make a decision at one point, like, is she going to focus on just doing what she thinks is going to save her friends and prevent the guns from going to Negan, or is she going to save Ezekiel? Right. Because Ezekiel's kind of gets his back to the wall. And so it felt good because I knew what the episode was about. It was like they were just trying to survive from this zombie horde while they're breaking a character down, and they're trying to prevent these guns from getting to Negan. Right. And it was like, I know what the stakes are. I know what I don't want to see happen. And it was just very nice and refreshing. And Carol was put in a couple moments because she's kind of been like a god in the show. Yeah. And it's gotten a little stale to me at times where it's like, you can't really kill Carol. She's just going to outsmart you. Yeah. So she gets put in a couple circumstances where it's like, she's, at her extent of where she can go. So that was good. And overall, it was just a really good episode. And one of the saddest things I've seen in a while on the show happened. Oh, no. And I don't want to spoil it for you, Matt, but there is a death. Okay. It's a really sad death. Okay. When you're seeing it happen, you're just like, no! Okay. Like, I didn't think that they could make me feel like that bad about a death in a while, but it was a tough one. Oh, so, dang. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And anybody that's seen the episode kind of knows what I'm talking about. But, so it was there was still a bit, darn near perfect for a Walking Dead episode. Oh, that's awesome. Is what I would say. I mean, I can't expect too much from them at this point. Sure. But from what I expect or would hope to expect, darn near perfect. That's awesome. So I won't talk about too much more for those of you who've seen it. I would love to hear their perspectives too. Cool. But I'm going to give this one actually a 91. That's awesome. Yeah. Very cool. Walking Dead episode, considering last episode we were giving like C range. Yeah. I will say I'm not expecting this to continue. Sadly, I think this is more of a flash in the pan type thing than it is going to be like a consistent, like ongoing fire that's burning. Yeah, no, I gotcha. I would love to see it do that, but they've as of yet failed to do what this episode did, which they should have done in the very beginning, which is to set up realistic stakes. I mean, if we knew what each of the characters was trying to accomplish from the beginning of the season, and we were seeing them failing and succeeding at that over the course of the season, then we would have been on along for the ride. Right. But at this point, it's pretty much just fighting. I gotcha. With a couple momentary issues of like characterization of who they're going to be and how they're going to act. Okay, well, so 91's good, man. Yeah, so awesome. That's going to be it for Walking Dead then. Okay. We'll move into something we can both talk about a little bit, which is The Flash. The Flash. Yes, so what were your thoughts on this last episode of Flash? I liked it. It wasn't great. I liked it better than the previous episode, but the previous one was all around Stretchy Man. I'm not on board with him. I can't remember his name. Him. Yeah, I don't like him. Yeah. Hopefully, I kind of hope they get rid of him soon. But it's like they made 3 or 4 steps forward, but then took 1 step back with him. Yeah. It was like, I don't like him. However, the best part about this episode was Drunk Barry. Yeah. Ralph. His name's Ralph. Yeah, right. But my favorite part of the episode was Drunk Barry. He's great. And we need more Drunk Barry. I know. All the times I laughed in this episode were all centered around him. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was fun. And then other than that, I mean, we got some more. I thought Katie Sackhoff was pretty good. In that role. I can't remember what her name was, but she's kind of like a Magneto, but only like a certain type of metal or something like that. Yeah. As far as mutants or metas go, she was up there. Yeah. As far as quality. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like really cheesy, and I thought she played it off well because I feel like getting Katie Sackhoff to do something like that could have a tendency, I'd be worried about it being cheesy. It was weirdly limiting, and it didn't feel as overpowered as Caitlin kind of had made her out to be. Right, yeah. The fact that she just has an arm that, like, just get literally, I was thinking at the beginning, just get a high-powered magnet. Right. Like that. And then, hey, bam, there it is. And that's what happens, It was like, and you also can make a wall of ice. Yeah. So I didn't really understand what the threat of her was too much, but I mean...
Yeah.
they needed to put somebody. She's not that she's weak.
Yeah.
Against a certain type of mutant, she's very powerful. But
Yeah.
against Barry, like she doesn't stand a chance.
So the one question that we've both had kind of going into this, and they explained it better in this, it kind of shed some light on it. It doesn't, fully fix everything, but the one thing that we've had a problem with is why out of all the people who are metas, why is Caitlin the only one that has a different personality? And
Right.
they did address that. They were like, "Oh, you're like the Incredible Hulk," like
I liked that.
I was like, "Okay."
yeah.
I saw them putting effort into explaining that
Right.
because it's probably a retroactive thing. They probably didn't have that in mind going forward, or like from when they first started this alter ego thing.
Right. Again, they're trying to come up with tension points.
Right.
And they said they just wrote it into the script.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I saw it.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to go back and kind of fix that a
Yeah.
little bit. Because the writing has improved this season.
Yeah.
I personally think that this was pretty much the weakest episode of the season for
Sure.
me. I really liked Barry. I thought he was hilarious. I really liked the progress we had with Caitlin because I think she's kind of getting more back to the realm of normal or
Yeah.
understandable, and she's kind of come to grips with this different side of her.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with the idea that like when she turns into this alternate persona, she's a little bit more evil and she
Yeah.
kind of does bad things. But I was never okay with that. She's just like suddenly like 100% evil just because she turns into a frozen woman.
Right.
So it was like, okay. So, but I was glad to see the progress being made there. She's kind of worked out some of the issues that she has ongoing. The weakest element of this episode was it was really an episode about side characters.
Yeah.
And it just, I felt like, it's okay. I if they made an entire episode about Cisco, even though I love Cisco or an HR, I would be like, meh. It's like, it's called The Flash, so I want to see The Flash.
Right.
And he was drunk the whole time, which was hilarious. Don't get me wrong. But, and then the ham-fisted, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it, but the feminism thing felt very forced. Felt very, like, it wasn't naturally moving in that direction. They just suddenly decided hashtag feminism. Like, I think they literally said hashtag
They
feminism,
did. Yeah.
which I'm like, that just feels so forced. Like everything now in this entire episode is just going to be about the social cause, which is like, I'm not against it. Like, I'm not saying like I'm attacking it. I just, any social cause, they could be up there and being like gun rights, hashtag gun rights. I would be like, what are you doing right now?
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So
No, I totally
that
got
felt
you.
really odd and oddly juxtaposed. And I wanted more Flash. I wanted it felt like, again, they were kind of manipulating the circumstances, and that's the Flash that's weakest, is when they manipulate the plot to get a message across or to accomplish something that they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, totally. I get that.
Yeah.
I
So, but overall,
Yeah. I'm going to give it 7.9.
7.9. I'd probably give it a little lower for me just because of the stuff. I'd probably like a 7.5.
Oh, okay.
So right around there. But I think this is more of a blip for them. I think the next episodes will probably get a
The
little
next
better.
one's called like HR meet HR, or like Harrison meet Harrison Wells, Harrison Wells meet Harrison Wells, or something like that.
Nice.
So I'm kind of
I've
excited
been
about
wanting
that.
more of him.
I know,
So it'll
so-
be nice who can get a bit more time with him. So.
For sure. He's good.
Again, not at the sake of getting rid of Barry.
Yeah.
I always want Barry to be a part of it. So awesome. So we're going to move into our next topic, or I guess our next show. I'm going to talk about this very, very briefly,
Sure.
which is Mr. Robot, because
Do it.
I think this last episode of Mr. Robot was probably one of the best episodes of a show this year.
That's awesome.
As far as actual progress in the show, as far as like changes and development of character and moving the plot forward, there was a couple big things that happened, but it was almost like those were like, it all took place over the course of 40 minutes, and it was a one take, and it was done
That's crazy to
amazingly
me.
well. And I think
That's awesome. It's like 45 minutes of one take.
pretty much.
That's
and they
crazy.
used stylized shots to kind of fade like the cuts between each other.
Right,
so you
right,
could
to-
tell like there were certain shots, like a person walks across screen and they cut.
Yeah.
So like you knew that they didn't literally shoot the whole thing in
Right.
one take, but it was done so well that it did look very
That's really
seamless
cool.
and very nice. And that can work for you, or sometimes the style of that can work against you.
Yeah.
And it definitely worked for the show because they used that to create moments of tension
Oh, cool.
and awkwardness and a feeling of discomfort, because that's what a one take can really do.
Yeah.
It can really make, because you're looking for a cut, you're looking for a transition sometimes, and that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And so you're mentally like, I feel a little uncomfortable. And this whole episode is about sort of the breakdown of E Corp, this
Okay.
building and
Yeah.
this the phase 2 getting put into place and starting up. And there's two big plot twists, or not twists, I shouldn't say twists, but revelations
Okay.
that kind of happen over the course of the episode at key moments and good times. And it moved the plot forward in a very good way, and it did it in a very amazingly stylistic way. I thought The tension was always there. It was very fun. I mean, I think the first half of the episode was probably a little bit more interesting to me than the second half. The second half dragged just a little bit. But overall, I really, really enjoyed it.
That's awesome.
The first half kind of follows Elliot's character as he's kind of going around E-Corp, and then the second half kind of follows Angela's character as she's doing some stuff in the building, and then they kind of meet at the end. And there's some cool stuff that gets moved in between. I don't want to spoil this at all because I think it's important that you kind of watch it for what it is the first time, but it's just really good. Really, really good episode.
That's awesome.
So, cool. Then we're going to move on to our last show. I know we're going quick here, folks, but we're trying to get some stuff in. And I'm also going to just talk about this one very briefly.
Yeah, okay.
This is a new Netflix miniseries show called Alias Grace.
Okay.
The overall synopsis for this is it's the story of Grace Marks, a young poor Irish immigrant and domestic servant in Upper Canada who, along with stable hand James McDermott, finds herself accused and convicted of an infamous 1843 double murder of her employer and housekeeper.
What's the time? Is it like a period piece?
It's a period piece.
Okay, I got you.
I don't want to spend too much time on this.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it.
That's awesome.
Thought that visually very, very, very well shot. Acted very, very well. I think Sarah Gadon, or Gadon, I don't know how to pronounce her name, who plays Grace, did an amazing job. The first even opening shot kind of gives you an understanding of that. It's just a static shot of her, and she's going into different emotions as she's sort of narrating. She's saying, like, some people look at me this way, and she kind of visualizes that on her face, and then some people look at me this way, and then she visualizes that in her face. And it's like you can tell that there's a depth to this character that is just really not in a lot of stuff that's produced. And it tells a really interesting story. It is short. I actually almost wanted an episode more to kind of flesh out things. I think the weakest part of the show was the way it ended. It felt very quick that it kind of ended and wrapped everything up because the story is sort of a retelling. It's a retelling that Grace is doing of the events that led up to the murder, and then through the course of the murder, she's getting interviewed by this psychologist of sorts. And then there's it's got Zachary Levi.
Oh, cool! I love
really
him.
Cool. Yeah, he plays like kind of this. He's a traveling salesman of sorts, but he kind of moves into different things over the course of the show. So it takes place in the retelling over the course of a number of years. And it's just really interesting. It delves into some really good thematic stuff. It's shot very well. It's acted amazingly. The period stuff. I would say the one weakness of the show is the dialogue. Feels a bit non-realistic for the time. Okay. I mean, they say things in a way at times that feels like that's realistic, but then at other times it's like, I don't think they would have said that or not that way or approach things that way. There's just a stylization of a time that I feel like they didn't necessarily fully embrace. But it was cool looking and cool feeling. Yeah. I give the series overall a B+. I give it an 89. I'm on the cusp of 90, but that's kind of right.
That's actually good. That's great, man.
So if you get a chance, it's not
how many episodes?
I believe 5.
Okay, so
no. Sorry, 6 or 7.
Okay, so that's still a quick watch.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick watch, but really good one overall. I'm sorry, 6. Okay, 6 episodes.
Gotcha.
So, so that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap things up. Then, I guess.
Do it. I'm gonna check that show out. Sounds good to me. I like Zach Levi. I didn't know he was in it.
Yeah, he doesn't show up for the first episode. Okay, he pops in the second. He's kind of in and out, but once he's there, you're like, oh, cool, Zach Levi. Yeah, so it's pretty fun. All right, so then some good ways to get connected here at the end of the podcast. RealReviewMedia.com. We've also got our Facebook, which is facebook.com/RealReviewMedia. Instagram, Twitter, both at Real Review Media. And then we'd love to hear your thoughts and perspectives. Maybe you loved or hated The Walking Dead. Maybe you're loving where it's going. I'd love to know your thoughts as well on that. Like I said, go ahead and email us, realreviewmedia@gmail.com.
Do it.
Anything else, Matt?
No, that's it.
All right, well, it's been real.
It's been real.